start recording, and hello, we're back. My voice may or may not be recovered, but we're gonna continue.
Professor? But what are you doing?
My controller turned off, hold on.
What am I doing, Mr. Wright?
Yeah, you were supposed to show up with some decisive evidence and save the day, Professor.
I'm afraid my only concern here is the truth.
The truth?
The truth behind the real identity of the Great Witch, Espella Cantabella. If seeking the truth requires us to stand on opposite sides of the courtroom, then so be it. I expect you to defend Miss Cantabella with everything you've got, Mr. Wright.
Okay. Court is now back in session. Are you prepared, High Inquisitor? So long as I remain on the witness stand, I am no longer High Inquisitor. Simply Darklaw will suffice. Miss Darklaw, I'd like to just confirm something. A moment ago, we established that you were in fact present at the bell tower during the time of the incident. That makes a total of 3 people at the scene. It would appear that was the case. However, you managed to stay hidden from 10 different guards. With the help of this right here. The robe of visibility. In other words, there is every reason to be suspicious of your actions tonight. Lady Darklaw, well, I cannot believe you would deceive us in such a way. I ask that you tell the court what happened at the time of the incident. Very well. The town square was to be the parade's final stop. I patrolled the perimeter to ensure nothing was amiss. As I passed by the bell tower, a small footprints leading inside caught my eye. I went inside to investigate. I had my own reasons for not allowing one of those vigilantes to see me. I climbed the stairs up the bell tower and saw an intruder inside their back turned. I proceeded to apprehend them. You apprehended the intruder? While I hold the position of High Inquisitor, there are often times when I must partake in various secret tasks, unbeknownst to the citizens of Labyrinthia. One of those tasks being ensuring the security of the storyteller. Security? As such, there's nothing odd nor suspicious about my actions tonight. I see. Defender, you may now begin your interrogation.
Hold it!
Nothing was missed. You mean there's no immediate threat to the storyteller, right? Now you tell me, Defender, surely you remember the final part of the story? She must mean this part about the storyteller's death. There is little possibility of changing the outcome when has already been written in the story. However, there are still those who would challenge the story and make an attempt at changing the inevitable. That is what I, too, think. What's up, Maya? You know something? You could say that. Just look at Kira. She's been looking down the dumps since the start. Oh, right. Kira. I honestly forgot she was still here. Not only that, but she looks sort of scared, too. You're right. You can't afford to forget about her. I wonder if Kira has anything else she could tell us. We got to remember to question her the second I see an opening.
Hold it!
She hesitated for a second and looked like the Justice upon Darko with a really bitch stare. Those must have been Miss Kira's footsteps when she snuck in the bell tower, right? Indeed, the ground outside was quite muddy after the rain, so her footprints were quite easily visible. Right. According to Vigilante's testimony, they thought the footprints looked like Foxy's, but it turned out they weren't hers. That's right. Her footprint would have contained a mark where her stiletto had been. But the footprints I saw at the bell tower contained no heel mark at all. And you stepped inside those footprints on your way up the stairs so as not to leave your own and risk being detected, correct? Exactly. At the time, my main task was to ensure the safety of the town square. In doing so, it was one of the utmost importance that no one knew of my presence there. If the townspeople notice your presence there, it would undoubtedly raise some suspicion. Indeed. So naturally, that is why I did not wish to be noticed by the vigilantes. Therefore, it was imperative that if I masked any traces of my being there, even if it meant utilizing another's footprints. I see. Clever tactic worthy of High Inquisitor herself. Is there any off-powder testimony just now? Well, so this was before, so there was no heel mark before, but it's not Foxy's heel. I think it's wrong. Something wrong with it. Miss Darklaw. I just know something rather than your testimony that's very relevant to the case. The defense requests you amend your testimony. You just can't have letting that ridiculous match of yours run wild, can you? The Inquisition has no objections. Very well, the witness will amend her testimony.
Hold it!
Miss Darklaw, what was your reason for going up to Bell Tower alone? As I said earlier, I was in the town square to make sure the area was secure. Okay, but surely you had some inkling that Bozella might have been lurking around there somewhere, right? Wouldn't it have been a lot better if you went to the Bell Tower with some backup for the vigilantes? Defender, you witnessed the summoning of the fire dragon with your own eyes, did you not? 10 more people on my side against a power such as that would only be 10 more lives lost. Just got a point there. Besides, even those 10 had been with me. Their combined strength is nary that of even Barnum's annoying mutt. No objections here. Say, Nick, after our last testimony, I think I know something kind of fishy. Yeah, me too. Might be a good idea to give the court record another check just in case. But there was a heel on the footprint. And she came up last. Yeah, Doc's drunk. But I think Kira went up first. Yeah, I'm thinking Kira went up first. And then Espella. And then Foxy. But since there was no heel on the footprints, that means Foxy didn't go up. No, that means Espella didn't go up there. I don't know what the order is. Who went up there and when?
Objection!
Not sure. You forgot his name, but you know, fancy. It's what is his name? Oh my god, you're gonna make me stop and look it up. Constantine. That's right. What I have here is a sketch of the footprints left at the bell tower. So tell me, Miss Darklaw, are these your footprints in the sketch? It would appear so. I would never mean to offend the hard work of Labyrinthia's vigilantes, but tonight's task was mine, and mine alone. You thought it was Percival? Isn't that the dog in, Pocahontas? Okay, when you put it that way, can't but notice a contradiction. What? What did he say? Miss Darklaw, you say the following. When you climbed the stairs, the footprints had no heels, so you tried to match your footsteps to them as far as possible. However, look at the actual footprints that are left behind. You can clearly see that not only is the heel present, but so is the entire foot. If you're trying so hard to step on the footprints already there, then the footprints in this sketch shouldn't have heel marks. That is very true, although I do not think such a small detail is of much importance in the long run. There was a dog in Pocahontas? Yes. I agree, it's a small detail, Your Honor, but that's not all I noticed. There's something very telling about the Miss Darklaw's testimony. So the dog in Pocahontas is owned by the guy that wants to kill all the natives. The dog in Pocahontas is wearing this really stupid costume that makes him look like he's like King George or something because of how like poofy it is, and it's like purple, I think. Telling you, sir? She say that she stepped on the footprints that were already at the scene in order to disguise her presence. Now there's something strange there. Specifically, why were these footprints left at the crime scene in the first place?
Objection.
Mr. Wright. Yes, Professor? Tell me, can you show the court why this seemingly minor detail is odd? I can't exactly do that at the moment. Who can say whether or not these footprints are indeed worthy of concern? If it has an issue, then what exactly are the implications? That above all is what you must answer, Mr. Wright. I do not believe you can assert that this is a blatant contradiction at this time. There he goes again, flexing that amazing brain of his. What is it, Miss Kira? Oh, it's nothing, really. The heck was that about? Looked like Kira definitely had something she wanted to say just now. It would appear the witness has nothing to add. Lady Darklaw, will you please continue with your testimony? Of course. Anyway, Darklaw shouldn't be able to explain her way out of trouble much longer. There's gotta be something more to the footprints, but what?
Hold it!
And what were those reasons? They relate to protecting the storyteller. It was something I was to carry out at that particular time. Did it perhaps have something to do with what was already decided upon in the story? The storyteller's word is absolute, therefore, any and all those who make an attempt to alter his will must be dealt with immediately. Oop. But there's absolutely no way you would have been able to missteer from sight, unless you either use magic or wearing this robe. The night is still young, Defender. You ought to save theatrics for later. Huh? There's indeed a very simple way I was able to sneak into Bell Tower. A simple way? Like what? Come now, must I really spell it out for you? I use this. This is the whistle used by the guardsman, the Warden of Danger. The second any guards hears this whistle, they immediately head out to investigate the trouble. Vigilantes included. With a simple blow of this whistle, those guards took off from their post. And then the second they were distracted, you crept into Bell Tower undetected. All I needed was a small break in their perimeter to sneak in. It was so easy, even a person of your caliber could do it. I see. Then surely there's absolutely no need for this rope, correct? Indeed, my lord. Do I not get the whistle? I guess I don't get the whistle.
Hold it!
Do you think it could have been the Great Witch Bazella? I mean, the thought must have crossed your mind. Surely you anticipate some sort of resistance. While I hate to admit this, I allowed myself to act rashly without first considering the circumstances. So, the second I noticed her presence, I took action. Never did I imagine the intruder would have as much strength as they did. Perhaps I should have gathered more forces to accompany me. However, at the time, I was not thinking straight. I assumed any additional help would not be necessary. Well, Lady Darklaw, through your quick thinking judgment, you still managed to successfully catch the suspect. Unfortunately, my lord, 'twas nothing more than pure luck. Exceptional results can only be attained through exceptional thinking. Don't you think? Why are you looking at me when you say that? Looks like that's all we're getting out of her for now. You know, if Darklaw's is gonna get into Bell Tower to arrest some intruder, then I wonder why she didn't just come out and say that to begin with. Simple. That information was a strictly need-to-know basis. Need-to-know basis, huh? That sort of secrecy is pretty common, but usually you gotta have a reason for not disclosing information to begin with. Darklaw was hiding this information for a reason. That's why we need to find out exactly what she was doing in that tower. I've got to get her to tell us. Hey Nick, Casimir, do you feel like we're being watched? Yeah, tell me about it. I wonder what's up with the professor. Something must have happened. There's no way he turned on us like this. The professor has been very quiet so far. Surely, he must have noticed there's something that just doesn't add up with Darklaw's testimony. Anyway, there's bound to be something in this testimony that we can use. We just have to make sure we comb this thing from top to bottom for any contradictions. That's right. Did I not? Like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hold it!
Okay, we already went through this.
What?
Hang on!
Excuse me, Miss Kira. Witness. Yes. Figures. She really doesn't remember her own name. You seem to be deep in thought about something. Do you remember anything regarding the High Inquisitor's testimony? No, I'm sorry. Nothing in particular. It's just, I'm a little disappointed myself. Disappointed? I traveled all the way here to Labyrinthia in order to fulfill my mission. Is that a spelling error? A spelling error in my video game from what feels like 2013? No, it's not. Apparently fulfill with one L on the end is the correct usage in the UK. Who knew? All I managed to do was fail and ended up being captured. Regardless of your own failure, Miss Kira, the storyteller did die as was foretold, did he not? Tonight, as the rain came pouring down over the town, I arrived at my destination location. Naturally, the bell tower is surrounded by guards of patrol. 10, to be exact. I was very nervous. She must be talking about the vigilantes. Just relax, you'll be fine, so long as you're wearing this robe, I kept telling myself. Little did I know, I was wrong. But none of this would have happened if I was just a little bit more careful. Enough. I would be thinking more about atoning for your past crimes and less about what it could have been if I were you. Is there anything wrong with your testimony? Something odd. Hold on a second. About your testimony, Miss Kira. You were thinking yourself that so long as you had your robe on, you would be fine. Yes, that's right, I was. Basically, you were wearing the robe the whole time you were on the top floor of the bell tower. Is that right? Yes, I had it on the entire time. is until I was attacked. Then my robe was ripped off by the wind. Miss Kira, this is the first time we heard of any mention of this information. That so? I think I must have just forgotten. Your Honor, perhaps we should update this piece of evidence to the court record? You're right, you are. Lady Darklaw, please continue your testimony. Okay, then this makes different. This is a change because then the robe, because Kira's wearing the robe when she got attacked, and only people from Eldritch Woods can see the robe.
Objection!
So the person you saw when you entered the bell tower was actually Miss Kira. The only problem with that is that it would have been impossible. What are you talking about, Defender? Miss Kira, or should I say the witness, stated that while she was waiting on the upper floor of the tower, she was wearing her invisibility robe. Therefore, there's no way Miss Darklaw would have been able to see the witness. Oh, you're quite right. Anyone wearing this robe becomes invisible. Right, but there is just one particular group that can see anyone dressed in this robe. Who's that exactly? Only residents of the Eldritch Woods are able to see the robe. If you're from the Eldritch Woods, then you'll have absolutely no problem seeing this thing.
Objection.
So, what you are saying, Mr. Wright, is that Miss Darklaw here actually hails from the Eldritch Woods, is that correct? And that she knew this girl prior to tonight. That's right, Professor. What is this? A most impressive display, Mr. Wright. However, there's one detail that you appear to have overlooked. Something I overlooked? You say Miss Darklaw saw something she should not have been able to see. However, the truth is that there's one other possibility as to what occurred tonight. Did he just say what I think he said? It's rather easy to work out. Quite simply, the witness was not wearing the robe in the first place. What are you talking about, Inquisitor? This witness has proven her memory of tonight's event to be quite unreliable. I believe that by the time she climbed the bell tower, she in fact already removed her robe. What? 'Tis as you say, Inquisitor. As you can see, Defender, your assertion is mere speculation, at best. Your little witness here has been lying to the court the entire time. It's as simple as that. That's enough. Miss Kira? Lady Darklaw, how could you simply abandon us? How could you betray us? Betray? Witness, what is the meaning of this? Lady Darklaw, you are the mistress of the Eldritch Woods. You are the one responsible for handing us our tasks. But what? This wretched girl is nothing more than a detestable spawn of magic. Her words cannot be taken seriously. People of Labyrinthia, I ask you, what am I if not a loyal daughter of this fair town? No, you're lying, Lady Darklaw. When I was waiting up there at the top of the bell tower, I was most certainly wearing that robe. Lady Darklaw, you were also wearing a similar robe, were you not? Don't you remember? What nonsense. I haven't a clue what you're babbling about. I simply managed to sneak right by those makeshift guards. It was not the most immediate tasks for someone like me. Yes, you're right, that would be true. If you've been sneaking around by yourself. By yourself? Witness, explain yourself. Enough. Listen to me and listen well. Continue as you are. See to it that this court be the last place in which you ever set foot. Matters not, the end is already nigh. After the events of today, I shouldn't even be here right now. Miss Kira, you're saying that Miss Darklaw was not by herself at the time of the incident tonight? That's right. Lady Darklaw was wearing an invisibility robe, and underneath that robe was a young girl passed out on her back. What? A girl? Could that be? Yes. It was the very same girl imprisoned inside that cage up there. You mean Isabella Cantabella? Order! Order! So, the accused was carried up the bell tower? My lord, there's nothing left for me to say. 'Tis the word of the High Inquisitor versus that of a witch. Tell me, who would you sooner believe?
Objection.
Miss Darklaw, you of all people should be aware that this isn't a matter of believing or not believing. I'm afraid those are words that carry no meaning here. The only thing that carries any meaning here within the courtroom is evidence. Don't you agree, Mr. Wright? Yeah, absolutely, Professor. Well now, things are beginning to heat up a little, are they not? Fine. Tell me, Defender, have you the means to prove this assertion? Do you actually think you can prove that I, the High Inquisitor Labyrinthia, carried the accused into the bell tower? From the looks of it, Miss Kira was supposed to keep quiet about Darklaw's little secret. But she couldn't deal with all Darklaw's denials and finally found the guts to chime in. I can't let Kira's efforts go to waste. I don't care what stands in my way, I'm going to find the truth. Your Honor, the defense wishes to present evidence proving that Miss Darklaw did, in fact, carry my client up the tower. Very well, Defender. You may present your evidence. Show us the evidence that proves Lady Darklaw carried the keys of the bell tower. It's going to be the foot.
Take that!
How would she tiptoe if she was carrying someone? Because before she said that the footprints did not have heel marks. So how would she tiptoe up while carrying someone? She would have to carry... She would have to place down her whole foot to be able to carry the weight of someone else. There's something in your testimony just now that I'm not buying. And that's the footprints that were left at the bell tower. Did I not just finish admitting that those were my footprints? Miss Darklaw, you stated the following. There was no heel on the footprints, so as I ascended the stairs, I was careful to match my footsteps to them as far as possible. Checkmate, liberal. However, the reality is, the footprints pictured in the sketch actually do contain a heel. That means something must have prevented you from being able to tiptoe along the footprints that were already there. Prevented? Ah, you mean? That's right, Your Honor. Miss Darklaw, when you climbed up the bell tower tonight, you must have been carrying Miss Cantabella on your back. Is that correct? If you remember, it rained quite heavily tonight. That means the stairs must have been quite slippery. With your two hands occupied carrying my client, there would be no safe way for you to tiptoe up the stairs without falling. That right there is the truth behind the footprints on the staircase. Hey, Darklaw, you... Fine, I admit it. It is as you say, I donned the robe and made my way up the tower. But I was not alone. I carried both Isabella Cantabella and her little friend up the tower with me. Little friend? That black-furred creatures of hers. That thing is nary ever a second from her side. Oh, she must mean Eve! When I arrived at the top of the tower, I saw this girl already there and called out to her. I was very shocked to see the mistress show up in person like that. The girl's presence was an inconvenience, so I immediately put her to sleep. I believe it or not, it's just like you said, Defender. I used what remained of Belduk's medicine to put the girl out of the picture. And that's when Miss Kier put up a fight and pulled his pendant right off your neck, correct? That's right.
I cannot fathom it. That would mean this pendant actually belongs to you, Lady Darklaw.
I just have one question, Miss Darklaw. Why? Why take a spell up the bell tower? Why render her unconscious? And why go through the trouble of sneaking past the guards? What exactly was your aim in all of this? I am in no way obliged to answer that question, Defender. What? What makes you say that? Simple. None of this has any relevance to the case at hand. That is why.
Objection!
Miss Darklaw, you rendered the witness unconscious and locked her up at the top of the bell tower. I'd say that's more than a little relevant.
Objection!
Your Honor, if I may, the Inquisition believes the defense's question to be irrelevant to the current case.
Professor, what are you saying?
It would seem the defense has forgotten a very important point, namely the point of this, Mr. Wright.
Huh?
The aim of this trial is to find the identity of the Great Witch Bezella. Whether or not Miss Darklaw locked the witness at the top of the bell tower is hardly relevant to the purpose of this trial.
But
there is one thing that's very clear. Neither Miss Darklaw nor this witness could possibly be Bezella.
what?
Either one of those two were Bezella, then there would be no need for them to have used this robe of invisibility. They cannot use any magic. Therefore, it is inconceivable that either of them could be the Great Witch. A rather straightforward argument if there ever was one. At the time of the incident, there were 3 people present. Of those 3, 2 used the robe of invisibility of Ash's sight, leaving only one person, indeed, Miss Cantabella.
Ugh.
With this in mind, the larger question is, who is Bezella?
Is that not obvious? The accused, the spell Cantabella, is the only possible answer. Besides, the accused voice was heard by all the dance people chanting the spell Grandworm.
Objection!
Not so fast. I happen to think these witnesses are extremely relevant to this trial. Did you forget about Miss Kira? She supposedly took a one-way trip into that pit of fire over there. And yet here she is, in one piece, testifying that she returned in order to kill the ruler Labyrinthia, the storyteller. Then there's Miss Darklaw, who renders the defendant unconscious and proceeds to transport her up the bell tower. I say there's more than enough reason to investigate who these two really are.
Only to discover that they are not, in fact, the Great Witch Bezella.
And saying there's a possibility that these two are somehow related to Bezella.
The court will now announce its thoughts on the matter. I must say, what Inquisitor Layton has stated certainly does ring true. However, Lady Darklaw, I have one question I must ask you. What exactly were you hoping to accomplish here tonight?
Assure you, 'twas not my intent to deceive the good citizens of Labyrinthia. However, I must now reveal the truth to you all. Also, look at my butt. Take a shot at this butt shot.
What did she say?
You don't think Lady Darklaw is in League of Witches, do you?
She can't be. She's the one that saw the other witch's demise.
Lady Darklaw, are you saying that you're...
That's right, my lord. I am a shade. A shade. You've seen better butts. Preferably without text boxes on top of them.
Lady Darklaw, will you please tell the court exactly what you mean when you say shade?
Yes, of course. I grow weary standing by this bench. I will tell you all I can. What the heck is she trying to pull? Why testify at something that could potentially undermine your credibility? Shades live outside the realm of those who dwell within Labyrinthia. To them, I am known as the Great Witch. Those that are put to the flames in the witch trials become shades, who live in their lives in the woods. We exist to carry out tasks given us by our mistress, the Great Witch herself. I'm not a witch, nor am I a wandering spirit.
What on earth, High Inquisitor Darklaw? Do you mean to say that you, not only are you a witch, but that you're the Great Witch? Unbelievable. Lady Darklaw is the Great Witch.
Great Witch, doesn't mind she's Rosella.
That's right, Lady Darklaw is Pizzola. I do hope you have not forgotten what we established only moments ago. It is not possible for Miss Darklaw to be Bezella. Well, Inquisitor Layton, surely testimony just now proves it. I'm afraid that in the heat of such revelations, you have all misheard the information.
'Tis pointless.
This is the extent of what the people of this town will believe. I believe the truth will become clear during cross-examination. Don't you agree, Mr. Wright? Defender, you may now begin your interrogation.
Hold it!
Great Witch? Yes, that's right. However, I am not Bezella. The mistress to those who dwell in the Eldritch Woods is dubbed the Great Witch. Even if I wanted to be Bezella, I couldn't. As the ever so charming Inquisitor stated earlier, I cannot use magic.
Miss Darklaw, I have one question. What do you mean by live outside the realm?
I mean just that, Inquisitor. We truly do live in a realm separate from this town. Now surely, one as intelligent as yourself has worked out the answer by now, no?
Perhaps. That remains to be seen, Miss Darklaw.
Regardless, it is something we cannot discuss with anyone. It is something that the defense should be able to prove.
Almost sounds like a challenge. By the way, Miss Darklaw, since you're not actually a witch, why do you continue to be called that?
To answer that, I must first discuss the true identity of the Shades.
Hold it!
So you're saying that the Kira here right now is the Shade version of the Kira from before? Indeed, Defender. The girl has no recollection of her life prior to living in those woods.
What that menagerie is this? Why, this girl at Kira's flower cellar was castrated in the flames before our very eyes.
That's right, Your Honor. But as you can see, she didn't die. You can see, there's actually a tricked incineration device in the witch's court.
A trick?
Once the verdict has been delivered, the court attempts to move the steel cage into position after witch's seals shut. Then, the cage is dropped down into a pit of fire. The bottom of the cage then opens, allowing the witch inside to escape unharmed into an underground passage.
If what you're saying is true, Defender, then what is this town's witch purging history? What's been the purpose of all this?
You and the knights have indeed been ridding Labyrinthia witches. However, nary a single life has been taken in the process. That is the reality.
But you could not truly expect me to believe such a ridiculous notion.
Who's this? Your Honor, it's true. Take a good hard look. Doesn't get any more live than this.
Ah, it's you. I am A.
Well, it's actually Maya Fey, your forgetfulness. What the heck are you doing? Everyone's gonna recognize you. Yeah, but seeing is believing, Nick. Now they have to believe you. Do you see? Are you satisfied? All those found guilty in witch trials lose their names, magic, and memory. They are then sent to spend their lives as shades at the Eldritch Woods. And then the mistress of the shades is the Great Witch. As you can see, this girl too has become a shade.
I have no more words to express my utter disbelief at this situation.
That's enough. Shall we turn to testimony? Why do I have the feeling things are getting a lot worse?
Hold it!
These tasks you mentioned, were you acting on them this evening? Yes, I was told to come here and become Bezella.
Wait just a moment, witness. Did you just say become Bezella?
My, how boopsy dreadful.
Why would anyone be given such a terrible task?
Where have these shades come from? Order, order!
Sorry, I don't know why I was given such a task. All I can do is follow the orders I am given. I can do that, then I can return.
What do you mean you can return?
Such is the nature of the shades. Neither human nor witch, there is an existence spent in the shadows. Each of the shades is given specific tasks. Then, upon successfully completing such tasks, they are allowed to return Labyrinthia as brand new people.
Well, Lady Darklaw, how can they be returned as brand new citizens? When we already know who they were. For instance, we all recognize the former flower seller standing before us.
Now that, my lord, that remains a secret. But a secret you will come to understand sooner rather than later.
Simply baffling.
The one who gives us our task is the Great Witch. That be you, Lady Darklaw. I mean, oh, magnificent one.
While this explanation is wrong for much I cannot comprehend, I request the witnesses added to their testimony.
Okay.
Hold it!
So, about these tasks, can you give us any other examples? A Shade's task must never be discussed with others, no matter what. He says that even though she just finished telling us all about her secret task.
Incidentally, do you perhaps remember, when you arrived back in town to carry out your orders?
Not really. My memory's still a little fuzzy. Say, didn't Kira only just recently become one of those shade thingies? Still, I failed in my task tonight. Come to think of it, when Luke and I had our little run-in with Kira, I remember being blown clear across the marketplace, but I never saw any explosives or gunpowder. Maybe Kira was gonna task of blowing you to smithereens, Nick.
And we're done.
Getting back to this testimony, I'm sure there's something here that just doesn't add up.
Hold it!
You really don't have any recollection of your old flower selling self, do you? I don't. When a witch becomes a shade, they lose all memory of their past life. They lose their memories, but why? And yet you still have some grasp of the concept of magic, do you not, witness? Let me spell it out for you. Magic does not exist in the Eldritch Woods. Oh, but there are actually lots of things back in the forest I have not seen in this town. There are things there you haven't seen here? Like really huge machines, that sort of thing. There's one that spits out fire with such amazing speed, and then expels these huge plumes of gray smoke.
A machine that spits fire. Never have heard of such a thing. Are you sure that the machines are which you speak are not simply magic?
You know, now that you mention it, I don't think anyone from this town can actually see those of us from the forest. They can't see you? Could it be something like that rope?
How can such a thing even be possible without magic?
Objection!
Losing my voice here.
Miss Darklaw, if I may interrupt for just a moment.
What is it, Inquisitor Layton?
Through your testimony just now, we have all come to understand the process of how one becomes a shade. However, I was hoping you could perhaps elaborate on one additional point. Namely, what exactly is the purpose behind the shades?
If you wish to know our purpose, there are certain other things you must first understand. Once you've done that, the answer should be quite clear. Isn't that right, Defender? Purpose behind the shades. Rest assured, you will not get the answer from me. As your saying goes, the witch is in your court, Defender. That's a saying? Sounds like Darklaw's challenging me to figure this out. Challenge accepted. There's one, but one true purpose for the shades that dwell within Eldritch Woods.
Hold it!
Miss Darklaw, what is the purpose of the shades? As Mistress of the Shades, I cannot disclose the purpose of their existence.
Well then, since Miss Starklaw is unable to tell us herself, it seems we must rely on evidence instead. Evidence, huh? I do believe the shades could have something to do with, which exists in this town, but ought not to. Something exists, but shouldn't. It is canonical that witches play. What? What do you mean? Well, Defender, are you prepared to present evidence? Sure. I was born ready, Your Honor. Something exists in this town, but shouldn't. I think I know what you're getting at, Professor. Defender, please present your evidence. Oh, basketball. They're balling. Oh, they play basketball. Oh, I get it. Okay. Yes, Your Honor. The purpose of the shades could be to make sure this particular thing exists in Labyrinthia. Are they talking about magic? Just like any magic? Here, go to the first one. Oh, it doesn't want me to.
Take that!
Something that doesn't exist. I have a feeling no one is going to like the answer I'm about to give, and it'll probably end up shaking this town to its core. But I got to tell him, the truth has to come out. Since I arrived here in Labyrinthia, there's been no shortage of really strange events. Ignace, Demir, Godor, Goldor, and now Grandworm. The mere command of magic is in itself a crime, is it not? In this town, witches are arrested and then made to participate in witch trials. They are then sentenced to death by fire. But none of those witches actually died. The supposed death by fire wasn't real. And neither is magic. It doesn't really exist. What are you saying, Defender? The Eldritch Woods apparently contain some rather large machines, unlike anything that exists within Labyrinthia. Machines that emit fire and produce large plumes of smoke. To top it all off, the citizens of Labyrinthia are not able to see said machines. It sounds like nothing more than magic. Yes, that's exactly it, Your Honor. Miss Darkclaw. Magic doesn't really exist in this town. That's the answer, isn't it? Magic does not. What utter nonsense! It seems we have finally arrived at the same conclusion. The secret behind Labyrinthia. What? What? Magic isn't real. Thanks, guys. That's the end of the game. Bye. Order, I say. What is the meaning of this? It means that all the magic you see in this town was nothing more than illusion created and put into motion by the shades. But Defender, the witches, we have clearly seen them use magic. Let us take a moment to think carefully about the systems employed by the shades. Systems? What is essential in order for a witch to use magic? The witch must possess a Talia Magica and must say an incantation in order to cast a spell. And the spells able to be cast are determined by the setter's magic gems. Now, what do you think is the purpose of placing such requirements on the use of magic? What do you mean, purpose? These requirements are not there to allow the user to cast magic. Rather, the reality is they are there to inform the shades of who should be using magic. Magic isn't real, you idiot. Ring that gives 150% magic resist. It is possible that witches were always being closely observed by shades. That's why they donned these robes, to appear hidden until they were needed to create magic. Create. Indeed, these are all kinds of spells within this tome. It would be quite troublesome if they were simply allowed to use any spell at will. Yeah, it would make the Shade's job that much more difficult for sure. Precisely so. That is why it is imperative that certain restrictions be placed on the use of magic. You're referring to Talia Magica, right, Professor? Of course, no water scepter could only contain 2 magic gems. Then there's the incantation. What would happen if a witch could simply whisper incantations quietly to herself, or not even say it at all? Boy, that'd be so cool. I'd be casting spells all day long.
and no one would ever see it coming. Maya, we spent an entire trial proving that you weren't a witch, remember? If the witches didn't give some sort of signal, then there would be no way for the shades to know when to cast a spell. Right you are, Mr. Wright. The incantations were a way of telling shades when the witch was ready to use magic.
What on earth? Never did I think these requirements would have such a purpose.
No one will ever know. Now, let's think back to previous events leading up to date that have involved magic. Our first encounter of magic was the use of a spell like Naze a few nights ago. A spell like this was nothing more than a flame spewed from a machine being used by the shades.
Then that means Demir.
A spell that makes the caster disappear, no doubt about it. It must have been this robe. Next is the incident with Goldor, the spell that transmuted me into a gold statue. While I understand this may sound a bit absurd, I can only surmise that the shades created a gold statue in my image, took me, and left it in my place the instant the incantation was uttered. Professor, it's no more absurd than anything else that's happened so far. We can therefore conclude that all the magic in Labyrinthia was created in a similar vein. What do you say to that, Miss Darklaw? I expect nothing less from you, Inquisitor Layton. At any given time, there were between 5 and 10 witches in town. All the witches are accompanied by shades at all times. It's easier than you would think. You see, the shades living in Eldritch Woods total in the hundreds. It's simply a matter of having each of the shades operate in shifts in order to watch over each of the witches within the town.
I must say, Darly Darklaw, there's quite a number of shades.
'Twas not only those who fell victim to the flames that were turned into shades, but their victims too were made permanent residents of Eldritch Woods. Then, those 2 shady thieves from before were turned into shades? Yes, you mean Robs and Mugs. Despite their dubious appearance, those 2 were a couple of my best shades. Shady thieves turned into shades. This stuff writes itself.
I cannot believe that I would have heard.
However, there is still one thing I do not understand just yet. And what would that be? As has just been explained, we have established that there's no possibility of magic being real. But, replacing me with the gold statue to give illusion of transmutation, for example, while sounds simple enough. I myself, and presumably also Miss Faye, have no recollection of this replacement actually taking place. Hey, that's right. Professor got all blingy before I could even bat an eye. It begs the question, how and when was that statue created, let alone used to replace me?
That is true.
The same goes for Godor. It's supposed to create a portal between 2 green-colored walls. Perhaps that is exactly why the spell can only work on green walls, Mr. Wright. Still, it'd be impossible for the shades to get those portals ready so quickly. I agree, if we take a moment to think, we can see that all those spells have one strange thing in common. The thing in common? Yes, indeed. Almost as if some time between the start and end of the incident was unaccounted for. Furthermore, any memory I might have had regarding the incident seems to have simply disappeared in the process. I got it, Nick. It's just like what happened to Kira. She's got absolutely no memory of her life Labyrinthia before the trial, right? Yes, I do not remember this Kira you speak of. And, oh yeah, when you really think about it, doesn't it seem super weird how the shades are able to return to town if they complete their tasks? You're right, Maya. I mean, the townsfolk are bound to remember some things about them, right? Like how Miss Kira here threw a major hissy fit in court and was barbecued for being a witch. Eloquently put, Mr. Wright. Hence, we cannot yet conclude that this entire illusion was primarily accomplished through the use of machinery. Simply put, there must have been some way affecting the memories of all those within the confines of this town. Missing time and lost memories? Now that is interesting, Inquisitor. You were correct. There is in fact a secret that lies within the depths of Eldritch Woods. Something that the people of this town cannot see. Something that can rob people of their time and memories. 'Tis the very thing that connects all of what you have heard tonight. 'Tis a secret of monumental proportions. And let me guess. 'Tis a secret that could not be revealed by the mistress of the Eldritch Woods. Is that right? Yes, an excellent deduction, Defender.
Witches' souls wander astray within the Eldritch Woods. Until tonight, I thought there was nothing but a mere fairy tale told to children. But it has become clear that a extremely large organization lies within that forest.
The Witch's Court is the border between this world and the other world. Then that means, in this world, you're a Labyrinth's High Inquisitor, while also being the mistress to Shades in the other world. Otherwise known as the Great Witch.
May I intervene for just a moment, Mr. Wright?
Sure.
In all honesty, there is still something that sticks out as a little odd, particularly in Miss Darklaw's previous testimony.
Did you say previous testimony? How did I push that on my head?
There was one vital truth that we managed to take away from that testimony. You mean that magic does not truly exist in Labyrinthia? Indeed, quite the vital, albeit shocking truth.
However, there is one more truth hidden with that same testimony. There's something else in that testimony? I must have checked the court record more times than I count, but I didn't find a single other contradiction.
Have you forgotten already, Mr. Wright? When there is no evidence left, we have but one more weapon at our disposal from which to uncover the truth.
Oh, hey, I've got it, Nick. Remember in which witch trial you can cross-examine two witnesses at the same time?
Hey, that's right, I completely forgot.
Being able to have a look at two testimonies side by side is bound to turn up a contradiction somewhere.
And that contradiction should provide us with a much-needed clue.
I'm not entirely sure where the professor is going with this, but I believe in his judgment. Besides, if we're going to blow this case wide open, it's gotta be worth a shot.
Very well, we now take a closer look at Lady Darklaw's previous testimony.
This is it, Miss Darklaw's previous testimony.
There's a glaring contradiction between this piece of testimony and the others. Ready yourself, Mr. Wright.
Was? This one. Was is a weird statement, so I'm like, instantly no. Your Honor, there's previously huge discrepancy between these two pieces of testimony. Miss Darklaw stated she's known as a Great Witch. However, according to Miss Kier's testimony, Miss Darklaw was her venerable mistress, the Great Witch.
That is correct.
She was a Great Witch. Note, Miss Kier's use of the past tense.
Past tense? I'm afraid my grammar's not quite what it used to be. May I ask what you mean?
It's simple. Miss Darklaw was Mistress of the Shades, or as they also called her, the Great Witch. Therefore, she is no longer the Great Witch.
She is not the Great Witch? Witness, is this true?
Huh? Yeah. It is as you have heard, my lord. I relinquished my position as Great Witch in order to fulfill the objective of this task.
What would that objective be again?
That would be the assassination of the storyteller, Your Honor. Witness, at the beginning of this trial, you stated that you came in town in order to complete your task, didn't you? What's more, you said that you were going to summon the fire dragon to do it. Now this task, it wasn't Miss Darklaw here that gave it to you, was it? No, it wasn't. So then, the most pressing question is, who was it that gave you that task? Who told you to come to Labyrinthia and assassinate the storyteller? I cannot tell you, no matter what. Alright, so Darklaw isn't the Great Witch anymore. Which must mean the mastermind behind this entire thing is...
It didn't seem the defense has worked it out as well. Mr. Wright, you know who really gave Miss Kira her task tonight, do you not? Defender, I ask that you lighten the court. Show us who really gave this witness her task to assassinate the storyteller.
Well, the spell doesn't really make sense. It's not Darklaw, because she's not the Great Witch anymore. That's a cat. These guys are all idiots. She's brain dead. Pretty much. Amnesic. Close enough. He really put out a hit on himself?
Take that!
The storyteller?
We're talking about someone with the good authority and power to replace the Great Witch. Someone who calls the shots. I can't think of anyone else that meets those criteria except for the storyteller himself.
Preposterous. That would mean...
Exactly, Your Honor. It means that the storyteller gave this final task to Kira himself. He was, in short, responsible for his own assassination.
What? Order the court. What for what purpose? Why would he plan his own assassination?
That I cannot say, Your Honor. However, the final chapter's story does tell of his inevitable death. While he signed his task to Kira himself, it's perfectly natural that he would do so. However, what is not natural is your behavior tonight, Miss Darklaw.
What was unnatural about High Inquisitor's behavior?
You were once the head of all the Shades, and yet tonight you tried to interfere with the storyteller's plan. You rendered Miss Kira unconscious and locked her away in the belfry of the bell tower. That to me seems like the activity of someone aiming to put a stop to his plan altogether.
Indeed, Lady Darklaw, what would be a reason for such behavior?
I leave that to you, Mr. Wright. Based on what we see in this trial, the defense believes Miss Darklaw's reason for covering up her actions tonight can only be attributed to one thing. This plan was handed down by a storyteller himself, and Miss Darklaw is definitely aiming to put a wrench in it. But why? Betray him? There's one possible reason I can think of as to why Miss Darklaw had to hide her actions tonight. She was aiming to betray the storyteller.
Betray the storyteller?
I agree, Mr. Wright. The storyteller used the Great Witch Bazella to take his own life. Instructions to carry out the plan were given to Miss Kira. However, Miss Darklaw planned to intervene and change the scenario at the very last minute. She planned to do so by changing the identity of the Great Witch from Miss Kira to Miss Cannabella, thus bringing us to our current situation, Miss Cannabella on trial for the murder of her father at the hands of Bazella. You, Miss Darklaw, seem to harbor rather strong hatred for the storyteller, if I am not mistaken. Hatred, you say? Yes, I suppose you could call it that. That's right. Behold, my revenge.
Did you say revenge?
Miss Darklaw, will you please tell the court of your plan for revenge? If you insist. The High Inquisitor, and also the Great Witch. Long have I donned those two masks, one as Labyrinthia's protector, the other its harbinger of destruction. In other words, I was merely meant to serve him. And yet, he sought to selflessly pen the ending of the story under his own terms. He did not care enough about me or any of the townspeople to allow us the dignity of deciding our own fate. Indeed, what we witnessed tonight was the cowardly act of a man looking for an easy way to end that which he could not properly finish. He cared for no one but himself, hence the sudden sham of an ending. And for that, I will never forgive him.
What do you mean by sham of an ending?
The Great Witch Bazella is to summon a dragon of fire and end the life of the creator. She will then be put on trial and judged, thus heralding a period of peace and prosperity for all Labyrinthia. Such is the ending written for this town and its people. 'Tis not an ending I oppose in principle. Who would not wish a happy ending for their own people? However, the problem lies in Bazella's identity. Bazella's identity? As you know, he assigned the role of the Great Witch to this girl beside me.
But you're saying that was a falsehood, is that correct?
I knew Bazella's true identity. 'Tis not something I could ever forget. That is why I went to the bell tower, is why I took the cues there. I did it to ensure the true witch, foretold in the story, was given the judgment she was due.
The true witch, you don't mean...
Yes, I speak of none other than Espella Cantabella.
Objection!
Miss Darklaw, there's a glaring contradiction in your statement. And what would that be? Supposedly common knowledge that Bazella is capable of using all magic. However, that's far from the truth. Magic does not actually exist in this town. It was all one giant illusion created by the Shades. Therefore, the Great Witch Bazella cannot exist either. You fool. We just went on a big loopy rigmarole just in the back where we started. Exactly. Defender, you really don't have a clue, do you?
Well, wait just a minute now. Is the Defender not correct? If the magic does not exist, then it goes without saying that witches do not exist either. That would include the Great Witch, would it not?
That's right. They've been lying to us this whole time.
Dastards. Priscilla is a real...
Objection!
Mr. Wright, there is a fundamental mistake in your argument.
What do you mean?
I have but one simple question. What exactly is Bazella?
Huh? Well, she's supposed to be the head of all witches.
Allow me to reword the question. The Great Witch Bazella is the root of all disaster within Labyrinthia. Knowing what specific disaster might she have been the root of?
That would be, I just thought of something. We've been hearing Bazella's name left and right since we got here, but not once has the real Bazella shown up in person.
Indeed, Miss Faye, Bazella herself has been virtually absent from the story thus far. Well, Inquisitor, did she not claim the life of the storyteller tonight?
It would appear so, Your Honor. However, there's just one more thing.
Consider this. Which particular story is every citizen of Labyrinthia most familiar with?
Well, that would have to be the legendary fire, right?
Precisely. Surely you're not serious. This name implies that it's but a mere legend. No one knows for certain if it occurred.
So they say. But the reality is, there are still traces of that terrible fire within the town today. Professor Wright, we've even seen some of it up close and personal. The library. Yeah, the Great Archive.
You are indeed correct, Inquisitor. Litters throughout the town are burnt remnants of a fire most fierce. However, no one can say for certain what transpired back then. You see, not a soul saw what happened.
Let me see if I have this straight. There's an entire town full of people and no one saw what happened?
Correct. Except for one particular person.
What?
There's one person who saw everything. I am speaking, of course, of the one responsible for the fire itself, the Great Witch Bazella.
Yes. I remember it. All of it. Spell, what are you saying? When I close my eyes, I can picture it so vividly. The awful sight of the flames engulfing everything they touched. The scorching heat on my skin, the smell of burning cinder all around me. The large plumes of black smoke, the warm tears streaming down my face. I remember it all. What you are recalling now is the moment the Great Witch Bezella destroyed our town. Well, it appears my role is finished. As for the rest, I leave it in your capable hands, Inquisitor. There she goes! Huh? Darkglow, she just vanished into thin air. She's right. These memories are proof that I am Bezella. But Spella...
Mr. Wright. Remember, if you will, what I said at the beginning of this trial. I came here to prove that Spella Cantabilla is in reality the Great Witch Bezella.
Right.
There's still one more thing I wish to present to the court. I would now like to call the final witness to the stand.
The final witness?
Hold it!
Ah, it would appear he has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, I give you this trial's final witness, the storyteller.
And just like that, he appeared. The man who died not hours before. And the victim of this very trial. The storyteller himself. The professor sure chose one heck of a final witness. Morning is drawing closer and closer. How this trial will end is anyone's guess. It was already Kangaroo Court, but now it's friggin' Moon Boot Fiesta. And I will have to stop because my voice is getting scratchy. And the storyteller's voice is scratchy on my throat. Boop, boop.